Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Luke Rethke here. I just got done watching one of Alex Jones's videos, The Tax Whose Name Cannot Be Spoken. And he was talking about carbon taxes, and Australia was passing laws that they were going to fine business owners millions of $1 or $1.5 million if they speak badly about carbon taxes, basically. Basically, if they tell the truth about carbon taxes, that the carbon taxes are raising their prices. And my take on carbon taxes is yes, human beings do affect the CO2 emissions. Okay, that's true. Human beings also affect the oxygen emissions because of, well, first we'll stop at the first one, and not only do we breathe carbon dioxide, exhale out, produce carbon dioxide with our bodies, but then everything we do basically leaves a carbon footprint. If we drive vehicles, we leave a carbon footprint. We burn gasoline, and if we take the bus, you know, it's probably not as bad because there's a lot more people riding the bus than just one person usually, but I've seen a lot of empty buses driving around. I've been on a lot of empty buses in my lifetime as well, even in New York City. It just depends on what time of day and week you ride the bus. So anyway, and so it is true, and we'll get back to, see, that's just part of the story, and we'll get back to the other part here in a minute. But the second thing is humans reduce the amount of oxygen, and the way that we do that collectively is because we've cut down the rainforest. This whole planet at one time, and I mean, it depends on if you take it from a scientific approach or a biblical approach. Either which way, was a tropical rainforest all over. It was completely encompassed by like a canopy of it didn't even rain, really. It was just humid all the time, and things just got their moisture that way. It was just kind of a wet jungle everywhere. And what happened was people started cutting it down, and it never grew back. Like the Fertile Crescent is one of the areas today that's still a desert, and it used to be a really fertile area to grow, and people just kept cutting the trees down and moving around and not taking care of the land, and it ended up being a desert, and still to this day it's a desert. And if we keep doing that, that's what's going to happen everywhere probably. And so the take that the status quo puts on carbon tax is that they say that it basically, they try to spin it and say that it's all about the big corporations. It's all them, you know, we're going to tax these bad corporations for polluting the planet. But really what happens is they tax the consumer, because the corporation actually a lot of times pays less and makes more money by doing what they're doing now, which might be the wrong thing in most cases, because it's profit driven, not moral driven. They're not driven to save the environment, even if they say they are. Most of them are not. And I kind of lost my train of thought there. Okay, they spin it saying that, you know, we're gonna, so here's why I'm saying what I'm saying. I'll just show you flat out right here on Wikipedia. If you look at carbon tax, you can see right there the pictures of the factories, and if you read about it, that's where I got some of the information. Some of it, I mean, it's just coming from me. It's not coming from Wikipedia, but about the carbon footprint and stuff like that. And you know, saying that, and what they're trying to say is the carbon tax is for carbon fuels. Well, they're also taxing food and things like meat more than things like vegetables, and then they're taxing farmers because they say that it costs so much, or it takes so much fuel to produce the food. And so basically, they're spinning it a few different ways here and making it sound all good. And see, they're saying that it causes global warming, which could possibly have an effect on the climate. Who knows if it does for sure or not. It might. Carbon leakage, that's saying from the other areas in the world that don't have carbon taxes, like the United States. See, this is coming from a foreign perspective now. If you kind of read, everything comes from a foreign perspective, and it's spun to make the United States look bad. So basically, the United States leaks carbon into Canada because Canada has taxes and the United States doesn't. And here it shows you how gasoline, diesel fuel, jet fuel, natural gas, all these different things about the CO2 emissions. Okay, now here it goes into Africa, South Africa, all the different parts, Asia, parts of the world, all the different countries that have carbon taxes, and it shows how they came into effect and what they are taxed on and all this. And China doesn't yet have a carbon tax, but it's gonna here this year or next year because China's a dictatorship and that's what they've decided, and it's such a good thing. And then you scroll down and all these countries have carbon taxes. Yay, we have carbon taxes. Australia, Alex Jones was talking about all their good carbon taxes, and well, not really, but that's how they're spinning it. And then you come down here, and I'm not even sure. I said Canada earlier. I'm not even sure if Canada has them or not, but that was just an example. Oh, here. It did it in 2008 Canadian federal election. In the 2008 Canadian federal election, a carbon tax proposed by Liberal Party leader Stephanie Dion, known as the Green Shift, became a central issue in the campaign. It would have been revenue neutral, with increased taxation on carbon being balanced by tax cuts for individual citizens. However, it proved to be unpopular and contributed to the defeat of Liberal Party with its worst share of the popular vote since Confederation. So they don't have a federal tax, but then there's Quebec and Alberta. Looks like they have regional tax or whatever, state taxes if you want to call them that, province tax. And the United States is the same way. There's looks like Colorado, my state, Boulder, Colorado, voted it in on electrical, which doesn't really surprise me. There's a ton of liberals over there that kind of scare me, but a little bit. But other than that, Boulder's a pretty cool place. Here's why they say that why I say that the United States, they spin it to where we look bad. There's no nationwide carbon taxes. There is widespread opposition to such a measure during the current era of low industrial growth. So if you just read this article, you would kind of get to be like, oh, America's really screwing up the world. We need to really clamp down on those Americans and make sure they don't pollute so much and destroy our environment. And what's happening is, well, first I'll say this here. This is more about making electricity more expensive so that they can they can make more money off of the legal marijuana growers there. In 2001 they legalized medical marijuana in Colorado, and in 2006 they did this, and then that was I think 2009 they restricted all the medical marijuana stuff so bad, and a lot of people I guess just went underground from what I heard on the internet and stuff through some of the documentaries I've watched. But and then also in 2009, that very same year, what they did everywhere I think everywhere, I don't know if it was statewide or exactly how that was. I know it hit the city limit people harder than it hit the county people, and luckily I've been in the county for the last 10 years or so, and these things didn't hit me quite as hard, but they tiered the electricity. They if you use over a certain amount, it's more expensive per unit. So basically, if you have a excuse me, a $300 electricity bill, your bill's going to go way up. But if you have a $20 electricity bill, your bill's only going to go up just a little bit because of the way they have it set up. It multiplies the more you use. So it's going to really hurt farmers. Anybody that uses more electricity than the average little consumer that lives in a single family residence, or even those are a little expensive sometimes, but or an apartment or like a duplex or something like that, you're gonna use a lot less because it's just a smaller area. All right, so that's that there. Okay, and then what was the other point about? So they're spinning it. Oh, so the part that they're not showing is the part that, okay, what's happened is, let me get comfortable here, is the United States government and oil companies, and then also along with some individuals from the early 1900s, and then it was increasing through the 40s, and then a big old wave of them came out in the 60s and 70s. What I'm talking about is patents. They own patents on petroleum burning fuel inventions, like say a carburetor that fits on a normal vehicle, well, these days they're all fuel injected, but back in the 70s they had a lot of inventions for high mileage carburetors. So you still burn petroleum, you had more efficiency, you burn more of it. Gasoline vehicles only burn about 25% of the fuel. The rest gets spewed out into the atmosphere unburned. So you pay $4 a gallon for gasoline. Only one of those dollars gets burned in your engine, and then of that $1 that gets burned into your engine, you're only putting about 30 cents to the pavement to drive. All the rest of it's getting wasted. That's how inefficient it is, and that is absolutely nonsense. I have done probably nearly 10,000 hours of research on this in the last, not just on this subject, but just generally in the last nearly 10 years, I would say. From the first time I read that Rich Dad Poor Dad book, it just put a little spark in my mind, like started to question things a little bit, and is this really right? Are these people really telling me the truth? And find out most of them no. And you got to just think for yourself. And you can look that up. You can go to the United States Patent Office and verify what I just said, that they own the patents to all these different high mileage technology, and that's just to clean up what we already have. That doesn't even include to eliminate the oil companies. Bad word. You can't say that. We can't, everything. See, that's the whole thing, is everything revolves around the oil companies and the pharmaceutical companies. And if like natural medicine is being suppressed, and clean burning technology has been suppressed, and that's not the consumer's fault. That's the reasons that we're in the problems that we're in today. And the eugenicists' solution is just soft kill people, and whoever doesn't have a fight to live, they're just gonna fall off, and then the world will have less people, and we'll have back down to 500 million people. And you can verify that at the Georgia Guidestones, that's what they believe. Excuse me. And so that's true, and so that's what they think. They're going to dig themselves a hole, build some seed vaults, and just basically surface extinct the planet, and then they're going to emerge and repopulate the planet. That's their control freak way of doing it, rather than teaching people how to live cleanly and efficiently and effectively and happily and healthfully. They just want to destroy everything they get their hands on. These globalists and carbon tax. You can read the article. They spin it to say that it's a good thing and that we're bad. But like I say, if farmers were given the choice, most of them would grow soybeans. That's why Rudolf Diesel invented the diesel engine back in the 1890s in the first place, is because he wanted to give the farmers something that they could grow peanuts, and nowadays it'd be soybeans probably, and use the peanut oil. And at the World's Fair, I believe it was in Chicago, you can check all this stuff out. I read this years and years ago, that he had this little diesel engine that ran off peanut oil, and that was the selling point. And then of course the oil companies and the government got in the middle of it and screwed that whole deal all up. And then now they're trying to say that the farmers are bad because they burn so much and pollute so much. Well, it's if you're given one choice, you have to basically do that. I mean, if a lot of farmers actually go broke trying to go organic and alternative fuels, and then they end up losing their farm. And some of them actually keep the farm, but it's just a very, very, very difficult transition. And then if the economy collapses, there's a lot of people like myself who can't afford as much organic food, as we want. We would spend more at the more expensive stores if we were given the opportunity. And I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. I know a lot of people don't admit that. They just eat the cheap junk food and just act like I'm a tinfoil hat wearer because I think there's poison in the food. But I'll be the one that's walking around looking 60 when I'm 90, and you'll be 6 feet under when you're 50 years old. So, and I won't be laughing about it. I'll just be doing my own thing. So, and I'll probably be missing a lot of you, to be honest. All right, getting back to the rainforest part, the oxygen, we eliminate oxygen. So that's one way that we can clean up the environment, by getting rid of the current power structure and allowing free market to like Solyndra. You can look into that whole deal. We should have more clean burning technology, but the current regime suppresses it. Obama is part of it. Yes, he needs to be impeached. He needs to get the heck out of office, and we need to get a replacement, and we need to get, that's before we even go down the road of electing someone else. All right, that's what Lyndon LaRouche says, and I fully agree with that, man. He is a very intelligent guy. Listen to what he says. He's ex-CIA, Lyndon LaRouche, or ex-FBI. One of the two. He was the advisor. Okay, so anyway, we eliminate oxygen by cutting down the rainforests, and it's basically everywhere you go. The reason it is because the multinational corporations rape and pillage the land, and they refuse to do things for the right reasons. They keep doing things for profit, and they just suppress the competition at all costs. And power and control and ego and greed are the two big things that people, when they go off, I gotta own the world, or I gotta be richer, or I gotta be the richest, and it just doesn't work. It destroys the planet. So when you destroy the rainforest and don't replace it, the world produces less oxygen, and that doesn't. There's a lot of consumers that are very wasteful and not aware of clean living and that sort of thing. But on the other hand, if you just set it up, it's just a big old trap. If I set up a mouse trap and bait it all good, and make sure that bait is just stuck down to that little flipper so that mouse can't get it off of there, and the mouse gets stuck in the trap, and I'm talking a smart mouse who will actually get the bait off the trap every time. But when you finally get that mouse, is that the mouse's fault that he got stuck in the trap, or is that human's fault for manufacturing the trap, and then the seller's fault for selling the trap, and then my fault for setting the trap because the mouse was shitting in my cornflakes, basically. And I don't like that. You know, when you see a mouse turd on the top of your box of cereal, that's not a good thing. So that's the point where I you know, pests in my home, I don't like killing things, but if there's wasps or Miller moths or, you know, anything like that, mice, you know, you can't live with that sort of thing. So that's basically what we need to do, is we need to get rid of these pests, these rodents that have overtaken the world and are in control of the resources, because if we don't, the entire planet will more than likely be a barren wasteland. I mean, think about it. The people that understand this know what I'm saying is true, and a lot of people are just, oh, everything's okay, and go back to partying, doing what you're doing, and ignoring this situation. And I tell you, that's not going to work. The reason why I'm standing up and speaking my mind and saying what I think is because if I feel that if I don't, that we're all done. There's no way that very many of us will survive the next probably 5 to 10 years if we don't do this. And I feel like if I just move to Costa Rica and ignore it, it's just going to catch up to me there. That it's going to be uninhabitable there. Sure, I won't have to battle the cold, but you still got to eat. So, and for the most part, you still got to play the money game. You can find ways around it. There's actually a thing I just heard of called Mountain Hours. They were doing up by Breckenridge, I think, up in the whole county, and it was a form of local currency. You'll have to check that out. But anyway, I just wanted to make this quick video that's not so quick anymore. Hopefully it's very informative. You know, get this information out there, and you know, debate me right here on the channel. Let's talk about this. Let's have an intellectual discussion. Let's have a debate. Comment me what you think. Make me a video response, and keep fighting the good fight. It's gonna be won. We're gonna win. Good always wins. You know, we might not all survive, but at least we can feel good about what we've done in the world, and know that we haven't just raped and pillaged the land and destroyed it for our children and grandchildren. So again, my name is Luke Rethke. Thank you for watching, and have a great day, everyone.